You know, I just love when an anime season ends and immediately, as soon as it ends, release day of the final episode, something else is announced. If you're a fan of That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime and you just finished up season 2 part 2, good news for you, a movie for 2022 was actually just announced. But before we get into the movie and before we get too much information about that, we got to talk about season 2 part 2. Hello and welcome to Atrocious Gameplay, where we are going over another atrocious or amazing anime review. Now, if you don't know, this is a series that I do on YouTube where I review either an anime series that is short and like kind of a one-time, or just going over season by season of an anime. I'll let you know whether you should binge or skip it, and I'll give you some of the pros, cons, and synopsis of the series. Now, as I mentioned before, we're going to be talking about season 2 part 2 of That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime, which actually ended and concluded yesterday, assuming that you're watching this on Wednesday, September 22nd, 2021. Now, there's a timestamp that just appeared on the bottom here. Make sure to go to that time if you want to avoid spoilers for the season. You just want to hear my overall review opinion, and you don't want anything ruined for you. In this video, I just want to be clear that I will not be covering anything before season 2 part 2, just a heads up. While you're moving over to the time or you're waiting, make sure to please let me know down in the comments below who your favorite character is in this series. My personal favorite is Shion. I think she's great. I think she could step on me and I would please say thank you. You let me know, and then while you're down there, might as well drop a like on the video and subscribe to watch more. Anyways, let's just go to what is important, the synopsis of the season. Now again, we're talking about season 2 part 2. So Rimuru Tempest has just awakened as a demon lord, and now they're starting to make preparations towards their next move, which is going after Clayman. Now, as they're going over preparations, Tempest has gathered their allied nations and held a meeting which took 4 episodes. A meeting that took 4 episodes that carried a variety of different things, that had plenty of topics of information, and characters were introduced that we're not really going to go over too much. That's not like the huge biggest deal. But what you should know is that after the meeting, information was given that Clayman and Milim were on their way to invade Tempest already. Now, thanks to the scouting intel and that little tidbit of important information, Tempest was able to make preparations and draw out a plan to defeat Clayman's army before they could get to Tempest. Before the invasion, though, we got a little bit of backstory behind the other demon lords, including Guy Crimson, who is kind of pretty much what I would say is the head of the demon lords. He's not actually the head, but he kind of leads Walpurgis, which we'll get to here in a second. Then we see Leon Cromwell, who we kind of already know who that is, because in the beginning we found out that Shizue Izawa, my wife, was summoned into this world by Leon, who then Leon ended up having Infrit, the fire spirit, possess Shizue. So I already hate that guy. And then we have Freya, the Queen of Harpies, who we see after learning that Milim is under the control of Clayman. She kind of joins Clayman in his little scheme that he's got going on. Now, after we get the backstory of some of the other demon lords, the fighting begins, and Tempest has the advantage because they have the surprise. They already knew that Clayman's army was coming. Members of Tempest face off against Clayman's 5 fingers, some of them at least. The battles kind of start off with Yamza and Albus, and after a battle where some change forms and then other use their trap cards and all that stuff, Yamza eventually has to surrender to Albus, but Clayman's got other plans. Because Yamza is one of the 5 fingers and under Clayman's control, Clayman actually makes Yamza basically commit suicide and turn into whatever this giant monster's name is. It starts with Char, ends with Debis or whatever. I don't even know how to say it. Just whatever that thing is. We've seen it before. After that bloody thing comes back, Benimaru ends up becoming One Punch Man and absolutely just annihilates it. Like, I'm not even kidding. Everyone's freaking out. They're like, Milim and ended up beating it, and I don't know how we're gonna do it, blah, blah, blah. And Benimaru's like, step aside. Moving into a different area to another one of the fingers, Alderman, which I believe is the index finger, faces off against Shuna, and by God, Shuna The battle is intense, and obviously Team Tempest wins, and Shuna actually frees Alderman from Clayman's powers with holy magic, which Alderman ends up helping Shuna and the others raid Clayman's palace. So basically you could say the score is like 2-0 Tempest. And really, that's all you really need to know before Walpurgis and the fight between Clayman and Tempest and their little clash that they had, because Tempest just kind of just wipes them out. So then during that time, Clayman has announced a meeting of the Demon Lords called Walpurgis, and it's basically where all the Demon Lords come together and they have a meeting. This meeting essentially boils down to Clayman versus Rimuru. After all the introductions are done and we meet all the Demon Lords that are present at the meeting, Clayman essentially plays a game of pointing fingers and tries to convince everyone that Rimuru is evil and is a threat to the Demon Lord titles and is super disrespectful and is just a lowly slime that borrowed Vidal's power. And really, Rimuru throws Clayman off his game and calls out his bullshit. Reminder, Clayman doesn't realize that Phobio is still alive. Clayman actually doesn't really know that Rimuru caught all of them marching to Tempest for war. And Clayman pretty much gives a bold-faced lie about how Rimuru set war with the humans and used Veldora to kill everyone, and it just spirals out of control for Clayman and just continues to snowball. Eventually, it gets to a point where Guy Crimson just puts them in a magical circle arena and says, "Fight it out, bruh." So basically, you have two sides in this battle at Walpurgis. You've got Clayman, his subordinates, along with Milim, who's under his control. And then on the other side, you have Rimuru, his subordinates that he brought, and also Beretta. Now, even though Beretta is not necessarily Rimuru's subordinate, she chooses to side and help out Rimuru because Rimuru was the one that gave Beretta life. And if Ramirez is hanging out with Rimuru and their friends, well, she's pretty much serving Rimuru anyways. Because of the addition with Beretta, Rimuru is basically at the battle with Milim, which is tough for Rimuru because he doesn't actually want to battle Milim because she's under his control and they're friends. It gets to a point though that when all seems lost and it looks like Milim's just gonna whop him in the face and boom, ends the series entirely, Veldora just appears out of nowhere and whoop-de-doo, he's at Walpurgis. Now I will say during the meeting earlier in the part of the season where the 8,000 episodes of the one single meeting were going on, Veldora and Rimuru did agree, if I need you, I'll call you. Even though Rimuru didn't call at this point, it was pretty good timing. Now that Veldora is distracting Milim and they're fighting and playing around, Rimuru moves over to Clayman, who is currently battling against Shion. Shion is absolutely whooping as she usually does. Now here's the order of operations. Shion whoops Clayman. Clayman changes form. New form of Clayman gets absolutely wiped by Rimuru. Clayman awakens, changes form again. Rimuru then eats him. Before Clayman was entirely defeated and eaten due to Predator, Clayman actually hints at taking orders from a higher up, who everyone assumes is Kazalim. Now we learn from the other Demon Lords that Kazalim was actually a former Demon Lord that stood among them. But what gets the conversation really going is that apparently Kazalim was killed by Leon Cromwell about 200 years ago. So now everybody is under suspicion that maybe Kazalim is not actually dead. Clayman did hint in his final moments that he was just gonna come back, like he was I can't remember what it was, a dead man? The subtitles are on screen. So basically he would just be continuously reborn. So I guess it's not out of the realm of possibilities to assume that Kazalim is the same way. Now I will say I have not read in the manga past season 2 part 2. I haven't even read up to season 2 part 2 yet because I only have up to volume 4 because money. So I really don't know what happens at the start of season 3 or this upcoming movie. But there are a couple things that we find out after the Clayman fight which are very interesting. One, Milim was never under control. Milim acted out in free will the whole time, tricking Clayman, destroying the animal kingdom under her own control. She didn't really think that one out. Luminous Valentine, who is also a Demon Lord, was actually secretly hiding as a subordinate. She was pretending to be a maid of a subordinate, and they had like a stick in. I don't know if everybody else was just going along with it besides like Clayman and Rimuru, but I guess it doesn't really mean that much. But one of the bigger things is that Carrion and Frey decide to stop being Demon Lords. They give up their titles as Demon Lords to end up serving Milim. I mean, Frey just wants to be around Milim. I mean, they're friends, and you know, it's kind of reckless what Milim did, being tricking and doing all that stuff. So Frey being there is very nice. Maybe she can, I don't know, hold her horses back a little. But I mean, Carrion is under Milim's control because Milim destroyed the kingdom. So Yeah, now that there's only 8 demon lords and not the 10, the group ends up renaming to Octogram. That isn't the end of this season though, because in the final like 2 minutes, the season basically ends with Laplace killing Roy Valentine, who mocks Clayman's death. Now, I will say, Laplace was kind of invading into Luminous Valentine's place as she was away, so like Roy Valentine went after him and then, well, it ended up failing that one. But it really sets up season 3 that the Moderate Haraquim Alliance is going to have a big factor, and with Kazalim, the knowledge of that, I assume that's going to be played into it as well. Okay, now that you're all caught up, let's talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly. Now, starting off with the good things, obviously, these fight scenes are some of the strongest points in the anime in my personal opinion. Throughout all the seasons and all the different parts, the fight scenes have been incredible. And this part especially, I feel like really did a good job of showcasing everybody's powers, especially showing how strong Tempest was as a whole. I mean, we saw so many people from Tempest clap some cheeks. I mean, you got Shuna, you got Shion, you got Ben and Maru absolutely slicing and dicing. You even have Gobta making some noise. And sure, Rimuru Tempest is an actual like god level character. And even though he literally could destroy probably anything, the battles are usually still very intense. I mean, truthfully, again, going back to the one with Milim, even though he wasn't necessarily fighting Milim to his fullest extent, that kind of got really dicey for a second there. The animation is also great in this series, especially in the fight scene, and everyone having their powers and techniques shown really makes every fight feel special. I mean, I can vividly picture all of the fights in my head. Also, this show does an incredible job depicting what it would actually be like as a ruler of a kingdom. Look, it's not all fun, it's not battles, it's not wine 24/7 chugging away. Like, being a ruler of a kingdom is very political and you have all these different powers, so similar to how it's been in the previous seasons and the previous parts. I'm glad that just because we were super focused on chasing Clayman and defeating him, we didn't really lose the essence of the show itself. I mean, still, this is probably the only anime that could actually get me to care about politics. Building off of the politics though, it does kind of go into a little bit of the bad. I really didn't feel like a lot of things happened in 12 episodes. Like, I mean, later we're going to talk about Girlfriend on this channel. We talked previously about Case Study of Venus. Like, I feel like those shows have a lot of stuff and a lot of good things that happen in 12 episodes, but this felt like things dragged on a lot. I mean, the Tempest and the Allies meeting was 4 episodes long. Like, I don't remember any other part in this anime series where something felt that long. Like, okay, I could understand like 2 episodes. Sure, that's kind of what I would expect. 3 episodes stretching it, but not really out of the ordinary. But 4, my God. Felt like forever. I also feel like I would feel differently though if I did something like binge this all 12 episodes in one day, or maybe saw all of the meeting episodes all in one day in comparison to watching this anime over 12 weeks. And I'm gonna be honest, I really thought like 10 minutes and thinking, but I didn't really find anything else to gripe about. Usually I try to get 3 things for both positives and negatives, but I really feel like because not a lot of things happened, there wasn't really 3 things to be overly excited about or overly disappointed at. It's like got its pros and cons. I guess if I had to nitpick and choose something for a second thing, why did we never mention Suzue at Walpurgis? Like, isn't part of the reason that we're doing all of this is to get vengeance, right? Maybe that's just because it's the love of my life that I feel that way, but like, she's great. Overall with this anime though, I continue to love this series, and each season and each part has been very, very good. This anime provides a lot of great comedic points. It actually has the reality of ruling a kingdom. It's got great, incredible fight scenes. And honestly, I gave this a 9 out of 10 on my anime list rating. Look, I will say that season 2 part 2 is not the best segment overall for the points I provided earlier in the video, but that doesn't mean it's bad. Like, look, if you list things out in order of what you liked most to least, something's got to be at the end. And honestly, it's probably super hard to follow up the absolute hype of Rimuru becoming a demon lord. This part seemed to drag on a lot more than the other seasons and the other parts, so honestly, I'd try to do this in a binge. If you rewatch it though, before something like the movie comes out in 2022, you probably only need to pick a couple episodes to like actually get the full information of what happened. The manga though continues to release, and again, I'm not 100% of the way through it because I only have 4 volumes as of right now. I'm working, but your boy needs to get paid. So in order to help us get that fat YouTube check, please make sure to like, comment, subscribe on this video. Again, let me know who your favorite character is in Slime. This is one of my favorite series right now, and so I'd love to talk about this with you, whether it's in the comments, in the Discord server that we got that you can also find down in the description below. Any of those places. I hope that you really enjoyed this video. We've got other anime videos up there. There will be another video releasing later today over another anime season that just recently ended, so I hope to see you in that video or any other video on this channel. Keep watching anime, enjoy your time, and I'll see you later.